You think you know T'Challa the Black Panther, the king of Wakanda. But what if I told you the version we saw in the MCU is almost nothing like the one in the comics? Different origins, different power, even a different kind of genius. Stay with me as I break down the real differences between the two kings, and trust me, it's not what you expect. Start with the beginning. In the comics, the Black Panther first showed up in 1966's Fantastic Four number 52. He was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby as the king and protector of Wakanda, a tiny, secretive African nation sitting on the only known source of vibranium. Black Panther didn't spring into existence fully formed. The character started as an idea Jack Kirby sketched out as a swashbuckling figure named the Coal Tiger. That early concept looked very different. Stripes, a face exposed, more of an adventurer than a masked sovereign. Stan Lee helped reshape that concept, changing the look, the name, and the tone until the Black Panther we recognize debuted in Fantastic Four. That change from Coal Tiger to Black Panther is small but telling. It was an early decision to move from pulp swashbuckler to a character who carries both myth and statecraft. So who is T'Challa at the core? In the comic, T'Challa was born in Wakanda as the son of King T'Chaka and Queen Nyami. His mother dies in childbirth. Later, T'Chaka marries Queen Ramonda, and Shuri becomes T'Challa's half-sister. T'Challa became the heir to a long line of Black Panthers, and from the earliest stories he is both a scientist and a warrior, educated, thoughtful, and royal. That original comic history leans into Wakanda as an Afrofuturist vision, ultra-modern technology, ancient tradition, and a sacred link to the panther goddess Bast. This is where the character's dual identity, king and superhero, really started. In the comics, T'Challa doesn't automatically become Black Panther just because he's the heir. After King T'Chaka is killed, his brother Sian, T'Challa's uncle, takes up the mantle. Sian rules as Black Panther until T'Challa is old enough, trained enough, and strong enough to challenge him. Then T'Challa returns to Wakanda and anonymously challenges Sian in ritual combat, beats him, reveals himself, and earns both the title Black Panther and the right to rule. The MCU version borrows that core, but changes the details in ways that matter. The films make Wakanda even more modern, and they simplify some political threads so the story can breathe in 2 hours of cinema. Now, the MCU does things differently. When we meet T'Challa in Captain America Civil War, he's already wearing the mantle. There's no mention of an uncle named Sian. Instead, his father, King T'Chaka, is still alive and serving as king until that tragic explosion in Vienna takes his life. After that, T'Challa steps up as king, but his right to rule still has to be tested, and that's where M'Baku comes in. In the film Black Panther, the ritual combat at Warrior Falls replaces that old comic tradition. Instead of fighting an uncle, T'Challa faces M'Baku, the leader of the Jabari tribe. That scene carries the same cultural weight as his comic fight with Sian, just adapted for a modern audience. M'Baku isn't family, but he represents a major faction of Wakanda, one that questions T'Challa's ability to lead. Now, we all know how in the MCU, Shuri tends to get all the lab scenes, the inventions, the tech hustle, right? Comics make sure T'Challa is just as sharp. In the original stories and many modern runs, T'Challa isn't just a royal and a fighter, he's extremely well educated. He holds a PhD in physics from Oxford University. That means he studied at one of the world's top schools, dove deeply into how matter, energy, space, and time work, and came out with skills to build and understand super advanced tech. Beyond that, he doesn't stop at physics. He's also well-versed in engineering, economics, political science, and psychology in many comic versions. He combines those disciplines to both run Wakanda and design its science, its tech, its defenses. He's as comfortable negotiating international politics as he is understanding the molecular structure of vibranium or designing suit upgrades. One really interesting piece. In the comics, T'Challa sometimes creates or works with a branch of science called shadow physics. What is that? It's a fusion of ancient Wakandan alchemy. They're traditional, mystical arts, rituals, herbs with quantum-level physics and vibranium research. Shadow physics lets him track vibranium's energy signatures on quantum scales, experiment with teleportation devices, analyze enemy tech vulnerabilities, and design tools or weapons that conventional science wouldn't predict. It gives T'Challa both scientific authority and mystical depth. The MCU gives us hints of this intellect, but doesn't often show it in full force. The films make Shuri the visible tech wizard. So in comparison, the comic version often shows T'Challa actually inventing, theorizing, leading scientific research. He isn't just ruling and combating, he's engineering the future of Wakanda. That doesn't make the MCU version weaker, it just places the genius role differently. But if you compare, comic T'Challa is far more scientifically visible. On relationships, comics let T'Challa have long, winding romances and political marriages, the most famous being his marriage to the X-Men Storm, which was a major arc in the mid-2000s. The MCU doesn't take that path. In the MCU, at the end of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, we find out that T'Challa and Nakia had a son together, named Toussaint, whose Wakandan name is revealed to be T'Challa, so he's T'Challa II. Nakia has been raising him largely in secret in Haiti. The reason given is that both she and T'Challa agreed it would be best for him to be raised away from the pressures of royalty. Also, T'Challa knew of his illness before dying, and apparently asked Nakia and their son not to attend his funeral. This reveal changes how we view T'Challa's private life. It shows he had hopes for family and legacy that weren't public, that he cared about how a child might face expectations. We can't talk about T'Challa without talking about Eric Killmonger, because the comics and the film remodel him in very different ways. In the comics, Killmonger, originally N'Jadaka, is a Wakandan revolutionary with complex motives, a military mind, and a long history with Wakanda's politics. He's often more of a geopolitically motivated antagonist, fierce, ideologically driven, and sometimes tragic. His origins tie into exile, betrayal, and the darker corners of Wakandan history. The MCU reimagines Killmonger as a personal, painful foil. He's Eric Stevens raised outside Wakanda, a hardened soldier who wants to use Wakanda's weapons to liberate oppressed people of African descent. The film makes him personal to T'Challa, and it gives his argument moral weight. He's angry, charismatic, and believable. His plan is morally repellent, but his logic is persuasive. The MCU's Killmonger hits audiences in a way the comics sometimes only hinted at. He isn't a paper villain, he's a mirror, showing T'Challa what his crown could become if he lost his moral compass. The movie Black Panther leans into family drama, ritual challenges, and a moral argument about Wakanda's responsibility to the world. The film also centers the heart-shaped herb and vibranium tech visually, making them key to the action and to the emotional stakes. So what does all of this mean for fans? If you love the comics, you'll find layers and political texture missing from the films, but you'll also recognize core truths, Wakanda's brilliance, T'Challa's honor, and the complicated ethics of hiding power. If you love the MCU, you'll appreciate the emotional clarity, the modern reworkings, and the way the films bring Wakanda to life visually and politically. Both versions enrich each other. The comics give depth. The films give immediacy. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe for more deep dives where comics meet film. Tell me which difference surprised you the most. Drop your thoughts and we'll unpack them in details next. Wakanda Forever.